Oh, say, can you see the new Maverik Kinetik 3? Maverik have gone for their 4th of July release again, and let's talk about the Kinetik 3. So it's not an awful lot different than the Kinetik 2. Let's grab a Kinetik 2. Here we go, Kinetik 2s. Face shape, it's, god damn, it's similar. So if you like the Kinetik series of heads, you're going to like the Kinetik 3 because it's very, very similar. Couple of changes. So they've changed the scoop a little bit. As you can see there's kind of like a little bit going on there, which has changed. But other than that, the scoop looks really, really, really similar, I would say. The shape of the underside of the scoop, not sure whether it's me or not, but it might be ever so slightly different, the underside of the scoop. Maybe. Interestingly, all the stuff on the hand tag, when you compare it to the Kinetik 2, it's exactly the same. So there doesn't seem to be like a mad difference. What I will say is different about it is there are slightly different shapes on the stringing holes. So when I look at the Kinetik 2, they're ever so slightly different, but what is sort of, you know, quite obvious, the top holes here, so maybe not the first hole, but the next kind of 4 or 5 holes, they are much wider. So if you want to get a string through there 2 or even 3 times, you know, you can go berserk there. The holes are nice and wide. Holes are slightly different. On the bottom rail here, do you remember the C channel that you used to see on some of the SCX heads? So there's the Kinetik 2. There's the Kinetik 3. See, it's got that kind of very reminiscent of the C channel that we saw on SDX sticks. It is a stiffer head, so let's go lefty. That's a Kinetik 2, so it's kind of Kinetik 3. Much stiffer here in this area. Where it is notably stiffer, I think, is up there and here. It's a stiffer head, much stiffer. Interestingly, it's actually slightly heavier than the Kinetik 2. I weighed them with the hang tags on. So I think the Kinetik 2 was 5.1 ounces and this was 5.3. So there's nothing in it at all, but very it's unusual really nowadays to see a newer version of a line of heads which is actually slightly heavier than its predecessor. But it's marginal. If you notice 0.2 ounces, then you know that is not a lot, is it? You know, so weight of 5.3 ounces. And I've strung one up here, so I've gone for 4th of July theme. Some Mesh Dynasty 10D hexagon mesh, and you know, it strings up really nicely. Gone for a kind of more of a higher pocket than I'd usually string, but it is geared towards a more high pocket really, the Kinetik. So yeah, it strings up really nice. So that's kind of mid to high. I wouldn't say it's kind of too high, but it, you know, strings up really nice. Definitely stiffer. Couple other things I'm going to kind of say is that with it being kind of stiffer, you know, I feel it's going to, let me just grab a Kinetik 2 again, drop it down here. I feel it is going to be stiffer, but more robust. So, you know, the Kinetik, not that we had many people complaining about them warping, but, you know, when heads are stiffer, they do tend to, you know, last a little bit longer. They're just a more robust head. They keep the shape for longer. And, you know, one other difference I think is noticeable. So yeah, the stringing holes are slightly different. I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to count them now, I'm pretty sure it's got the same amount of stringing holes. And one thing you will notice, let's get this one here because it's easy for you guys to tell, but the throat on the Hyperlight Blue one is the 3. The throat is ever slightly shorter on the Kinetik 3. Say, I don't know, it might be, let's have a look. Might be like 5, 6, 7 mil shorter. So not an awful lot of difference, but you know, you will be able to get your hand further up on that handle there as an attackman. But all in all, nothing really bad to say about the Kinetik 3. You know, it's I'd say there's some improvement. Dropping the Kinetik 2 there, but I'd say it's got some improvements over the Kinetik 2. Definitely in terms of its stiffness, robustness, stringy holes. Yeah, I don't think that makes a heck of a difference really. But you know, throat being short, some people just like that shorter throat. But you know, noticeably, it's a stiffer head. I think longevity-wise, you know, it's going to outlast the Kinetik 2. So if you guys have had problems with Kinetiks or Kinetik 2s warping, I think 3, you know, if you like that face shape, if you like that kind of high pocket that's geared towards, you're going to like the Kinetik 3. So, you know, well worth checking out. If you're in the market for a new head, obviously kind of built for the kind of step-down shooter. And there you go, outside shooter. You know, they even say outside shooter. But Kinetik 3 has been relatively popular here in the UK. I know it's a popular head in the US, but you know, if you're in the market for updating your Kinetik, well, go check out the Kinetik 3. Out today, 4th of July. Strings up really nice. Nice patriotic theme there for all our American friends on the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July.